Hey guys, Jack Greens here. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about natural farming. Pretty much my scope of knowledge of natural farming, where natural farming came from, who were the original masters, the principles and practices, what separates natural farming from organics, a couple other little goodies, guys, that we're going to be fitting into this video, so I hope you guys enjoy it. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in and give you guys a brief history of natural farming. So natural farming, as many of you know, Korean natural farming may be getting popular. Some of you guys may have heard of it, may have seen some of the inputs. Some people have been making labs a lot on Instagram and different social media platforms. So something that's becoming a little bit more prevalent in the growing and gardening community. But KNF is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. KNF was actually what we would consider the second form of natural farming that was started. The first form was actually started in 1938 by a master we call Masanobu Fukuoka in Japan, guys. Now what this master did is he started growing rice in succession with barley and pretty much doing chop and drop of cover cropping type of farming, which was unheard of back then. People pretty much were doing monocrops and rotating crops, which is pretty much what's done nowadays. And sorry about the noise, guys. I live in a city, so I apologize. Masanobu figured, like, you know, why do we have to continue this, and tried to find a different method, and thus invented pretty much what we would call the no-till farming now, and also the use of cover cropping, guys. So those two things are huge now in conventional agriculture, and are actually even being studied by institutes of agriculture and stuff like that, or some kind of progression to see if these are possible outlets for us to be able to produce the food for the rest of our existence here on the planet, guys. Which is, you know, it's huge for a natural farming master's practices to be considered in a conventional sense. And so after Master Masanobu wrote a couple of books, One Straw Revolution, a couple of books about, you know, the science of cover cropping and why we would do chop and drop and no-till. Another master, Hyang Cho, which is the master of KNF, actually studied natural farming in Japan, not from Master Masanobu, which would have been just too astronomical for the world to handle, guys. He went to Japan and actually learned natural farming practices and took that back with him to Korea, and actually took it a step further, because Master Masanobu really didn't use fertilizers, guys, in the sense that he had like some kind of boosting tonic or anything like that gave his plants the cutting edge. He only used cover cropping and the use of no-till agriculture to really increase his yields and his profit. And so Hyang, the master of KNF, took the process of fermentation and began fermenting plants high in nitrogen, such as you know, alfalfa, you know, bones of animals that are high in phosphoric acid, things like that plants could actually use as a nutrient, and found a way to unlock these nutrients and make them usable for plants through the process of fermentation, guys, or just what we would consider letting things go bad, but I guess you could say letting them go good. And so Hyang uses the process of adding brown sugar and plant materials together to create what he would call an FPJ or an FFJ, which is pretty much the lifeblood of the plant, the excess nutrients that the plant didn't use, or that fruit didn't use, that is stored inside of its fibers, which is pretty much the reason why we consume food, so that we could take that nutrients. And it's fermented and then given back to plants, guys. So that's pretty much taking a shortcut and making things immediately available. Also, he uses the use of vinegars and other things like that to help break down more tough materials like bones and eggshells and stuff like that, to release calcium and phosphate and things that are great for plants, guys. And so what Hyang was doing, without realizing, was he was making farming more accessible to people who had very little, guys. If you could go out into your area and collect weeds that are growing around and buy a bag of brown sugar you could create your own fertilizers, your own plant inputs. You could collect bacteria from your area using only rice, which is what we call IMO, or indigenous microorganisms. Creating your own mycelium inputs, your own sulfurous bacteria inputs that you're collecting out of your own area, guys, which is a huge proponent of natural farming, which would be using what's available to you immediately. Trying not to go out too far, trying to get things that come from across the continent or from across the world even, that are very costly for things like fuel, shipping costs, labor. Also things that are like kelp, where they're very destructive to the environment, where they would take a whole kelp forest and you know, level that just so that they could have that kelp to create some kind of food, which obviously is not something that we want. Also, KNF and introduced the use of seawater and sea salt in the use of remineralizing the soil, which was something that's to some may seem a little strange because it's salt, but it works great. And so, from Hyang-Kyu's point, he was making natural farming more accessible to everybody, and then along comes his son, Young Sung-cho, which took the accessibility of KNF and natural farming and took it one step further by creating Jadam, organic farming, or Jadam low cost as it's known as also. So now, if you could go out into the forest or out into some wooded area and find an area that's covered in leaves, dig down under those leaves and find some nice rich black soil, you could do Jadam. You didn't even need the bag of brown sugar anymore. That even lowered the cost even more significantly and made it even more significantly accessible to even poorer people in such areas like Africa or India, where access to a bag of brown sugar may not be so easy. But going out into the bush and finding some what he calls leaf mulch soil would probably be something that's easily done by anybody, or go out into the forest or a hiking trail, something like that, where you guys know that the leaves are falling and it's not very maintained. Underneath those leaves, the bacteria, the worms, the other little bugs are breaking that stuff down and making that into nutrients for your plants, guys. Also, the bacteria and the fungi that are in that soil are fantastic for breaking down things, which is how the basis of Jadam organic works, guys. We take that leaf mulch soil, we take some plant material in a bucket, we mix it all together, and the bacteria from that leaf mulch soil begin breaking down the plant material, guys, and making it available for plants, which is great. It's taking the step of KNF's fermentation and making it even easier and more accessible for everybody, guys. So yeah, that's the brief history of natural farming. It's so far had three great masters that have made it into what it is now, guys, and it's still a thing that's growing. It's still a thing that's very young, guys. Jadam has a website where you can go and put your findings on there, guys, on a blog, which is great. It's like open source knowledge. So you being a part of this natural farming movement right now, guys, you finding this video and watching this right now, you're becoming a part of this growing movement, and maybe we'll be the masters, guys. Maybe we'll be the next masters. Chris Trump is already doing it. If you guys have never checked out his YouTube, I'll put a link below. He's great for the natural farming information and resources, guys, so we could be the next generation. And so here's to you guys, here's to natural farming, and here's to being the next masters for everybody, guys. We're all the natural farming masters. We're all the masters of our own properties, destinies, and everything else, guys. Cheers. Alright, guys, now that you have a little bit more knowledge on the history of natural farming, we're going to go into the principles and practices. So, arguably, but I believe the most important principle or practice of natural farming would be do as nature does. Now, this practice has been instilled since Master Masanobu Fukuoka, although he didn't really say it as much as Master Hyang-Kyu now in Korean natural farming, or Master Young Sung in Jadam. He implied it by not weeding his yard, or his garden, his farm, by not practicing the conventional forms of agriculture. He was doing more of what nature does, by not pulling out weeds. I mean, who goes out in the forest and pulls out weeds in nature, guys? Who rotates crops in nature? Who puts a legume before a tomato in the forest? It just doesn't happen, guys. So what Master Masanobu was figuring out was that by chopping and dropping, or by taking the cover crop, anything, guys, these leaves right here, you take these leaves, cut them down, chop them up or whatever into pieces, and you throw it on the soil. And what's happening now is that the bacteria and the fungi that are on the soil are now breaking down these leaves nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, all of the nutrients that were unused by these trees, guys, by these leaves. They're not using all of it all the time. They have some of it stored, or some of it exists within itself, within its own cells. So we take that and we break it down. This is how nature creates fertility, guys. If an animal goes and poos in the soil, worms come and break that down, flies come and break that down, but it gets broken down, guys. And not just by flies and worms, by bacteria, by fungi. It goes down to a microscopic level, to the point where that poo or that dead animal, that leaf, those branches eventually become fertility for your future plants, for your soil. So one of the main practices that I can give you guys from doing as nature does is chop and drop as much as you can, guys. If you have grass growing in your planting area, chop that grass and just lay it back down as a mulch layer. Your weeds, your branches from trimming your trees. Young Sung Cho even suggests using sick and diseased material from before and after you harvest. For example, you have some tomatoes that have PM. A lot of people will tell you to burn it. A lot of people will tell you to do something with it and completely remove it from your growing area. But what we're doing by cutting that up and putting it back into the soil, guys, is we're allowing the bacteria and the fungi in the soil to get familiar with these parasites, with these pathogens. And what they're doing is, now that these bacteria are familiar with pathogens and parasites, they can go to our plants and help them boost their immunity. You guys may think that sounds a little bit crazy, and I mean it does. It sounds like some crazy pseudoscience jargon, but it's been proven, guys. It's been proven. Master Young Sung Cho grows on 4 acres, I believe it is, or 5 acres in Korea, where he grows mostly peppers and cabbages, guys. And he grows the same crop year after year. He doesn't rotate crops. He doesn't change areas of where he's farming. He plants peppers in succession in the same area year after year, guys, using no-till farming, but returning all of his crop residues that he's not taking to market, all of his ugly chilies, all of his stems, leaves, all of the stuff he doesn't sell, guys. He takes that, cuts it back up, and throws it back onto the soil for his future plants to be able to use that unused nutrients. That's one of the biggest things that we're missing in this agriculture, and in this not just agriculture, but in growing and gardening as a whole, is where we're too scared of these crop residues or these diseased leaves, these diseased plants, guys. And there's no need to be. What we need to do is we need to return that to the soil, and we need to give our soil biome, our soil bacteria, and our soil life an idea of what it is that our plants are going to be dealing with, guys. It helps them out a lot, and from what I've been noticing here in my personal practices on my property over the last 3 years is I've sprayed less and less pesticides. I've had less and less pest pressure, less and less diseases, and it just gets better and better with every year, guys. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of strange at first, and it's gonna feel like you're doing something wrong, but once you start seeing the results, guys, you're gonna see that it's nothing but right. It's nothing but right. So jumping into another principle of natural farming is the good and bad are one. Now this principle comes out in Jadam Organic or Jadam Low Cost, and the explanation that Young Sung Cho gives is in a lot of farming practices or gardening practices and organics, guys, we're told that anaerobic or aerobic bacteria are better, or these bacteria are bad, these bacteria are good, these bacteria are going to cause something. But what we do know and what we don't know is there are disease-causing organisms, such as your powdery mildew, your pythium, your fusarium wilts, things like that, tobacco mosaic, things that we know are diseases, things that we know are pathogens. But what we don't know is the remaining 99.9% of microbiology and soil life, guys. We only understand 1/10% of what's out there. So how can we really say what's good and what's bad? That's one of Young Sung Cho, the master of Jadam's main points, is if we understand so little about anaerobics, and what anaerobics effect is on plants and plant digestion, how can we say that they're bad, guys? How can we say that only aerobic teas or bubbled compost teas are good for your plants, and not an anaerobic a tea where manure was just left to sit in a bucket without any bubbler? I mean, just to say that one is bad and one is good for your plants, just by looking at it or smelling it or putting it under a microscope, it's not necessarily going to mean that it's going to have that effect on your garden, guys. There are so many parameters and so many variables of what's going on in your garden, guys, that introducing one pathogen or one disease-causing organism isn't as bad as you guys might think it is. Disease-causing pathogens and disease organisms, they don't like competition, first of all. They need to be the main or mostly that type of bacteria in that type of environment for them to be dangerous. For example, if there's one E. coli bacteria surrounded by a million lactic acid bacteria, I wouldn't be too worried about that E. coli bacteria, guys, because he's not going to have a chance to grow. He's not going to have a chance to begin to digest or anything, because the lactic acid bacteria will outcompete him. Beneficial bacteria outcompete disease organisms 10 times, guys. So as far as to say that, hey, my ferment smells, hey, it has this color mold, hey, my IMO isn't white and fluffy, it's the color orange, it's the color red, it's blue, it smells like poo, it smells like pee, whatever, guys. My best suggestion to you is try it. Try it. Put it on one plant, try it on that one plant in a regular dilution. Don't go all crazy and then give it a bunch and say, oh, well, that's what killed it. No. Normally, use it like you normally would and try it. If that plant dies, then you know it's not good. Throw it away. Don't ever use it again. But if you try it, you might be surprised and it might actually work, and your plant might start thriving and it might look great, and you're gonna say to yourself, oh, well, it didn't look like it does in the picture or how it does in the video, but it still works, guys. And that's the beauty of nature. Is my microorganisms in my area are totally different than your area. You could be living 3 blocks away and your IMO collection or your labs collection could look totally different than mine. And that's just nature, guys. Just try it. Don't be scared of smells or of looks, molds. Just try it, guys. You might surprise yourself how successful you actually are at natural farming and how easy it actually becomes. Because I know that's one of the things that runs a lot of people away, is they try something, it doesn't work out for them, and they say, hey, you know what, this is too hard, or this just didn't work, and I'm never gonna try it again. But if you didn't try it, then you wouldn't have known that it wasn't gonna work for you. So try it, guys, 100%. Also, the last principle that I'd really like to cover is the farmer's or gardener's connection with nature, guys. A lot of us see our garden, especially, I'm not gonna, go into like saying specific types of growers, but even some organic growers, guys, even some growers that are growing with natural inputs, don't have that connection with nature. Go out and and feel the life of plants, guys. See bugs, spiders. These are all beneficial creatures that you should have connections with. Even pests, guys. You see these butterflies around your yard and you hate them, or these caterpillars that are eating your plants, and it makes you angry and you just wish they would disappear. Well, guess what, guys? If they weren't there, then your gardening wouldn't be so fun. You'd just be growing this stuff, and it would, you know, you wouldn't have any challenges or any type of knowledge, really, guys. And that's one of the things that helps us grow as gardeners, is trying things and learning and you know, being connected and figuring out, you know, is this a pest or is this not a pest, and just letting that bug live on your plant for 3 or 4 days to see if it's actually going to make a hole before you go and you squish him and you don't know what he is. You know, just little things like that, guys, and being more in tune of feeding birds and setting bird feeders, looking at hummingbirds, caring about bees, caring about the environment, guys, because, you know, if the environment goes to shit and everything, you know, gets destroyed and the world ends because of global warming or whatever it is, then, you know, your little garden patch in your little front yard looks great and all, but it's not going to last very long, guys. It's about us being on this planet as a whole and taking care of this planet as stewards of the planet, not just stewards of our yard or stewards of our neighborhoods, stewards of our planet as a whole, guys. We all share this planet, we're all a part of it. We all make an impact on it, whether or not we really understand or whether or not we really want to understand, really, or you know, accept that we make an impact. But we do, guys, and that's one of the things that I hope natural farming will change in the coming future, and that's why I was saying, guys, this is a new and growing you know, type of agriculture. It's a new and growing field. So, you know, the only way to go is up, guys. The only way to go is up. So, yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and we're going to talk a little bit about what separates natural farming from organic gardening or organic farming, and I'll let you guys go. Stop talking your ear off. Hey, guys. Hope you're liking everything so far. Just before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you guys, please don't forget to go down there and like and subscribe. I really appreciate everybody that's been following us so far. Really love your guys' comments. Your guys' engagement is fantastic. We love being on here and you know, answering your guys' questions or helping you guys out with anything you need. So feel free to shoot us some comments. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, any of our social media platforms, guys. So we hope you're enjoying. So the last little subject I'd like to cover here in our Natural Farming Principles 101, some natural farming school for you guys, is what separates natural farming from organics. It's actually really simple. The use of natural farming does not use any kind of chemicals at all, guys. For example, in organics, there's pyrethrum or however you call it, several aluminium types of sprays, several systemic chemical, although organic chemical, but chemical-based pesticides and fertilizers that just don't click with natural farming, guys. Natural farming is all about natural local resources, no use of chemicals, the use of all homemade and farmer-made inputs. Jadam even covers the making of pesticides, guys, which is the basis of our pesticide product, Jack Green's Bug Begone. You guys can check it out on our website. I'll put the links below to that also. Our pesticide product is based on Jadam. Our nutrient and soil conditioner lines are based on Korean natural farming, or KNF, which makes it more accessible to you guys. You don't have to go on my website and buy the Jack Green's Bug Begone, guys. You can learn how to make JWA or JHS, which is Jadam Wetting Agent and Jadam Herb Solution, and make your own pesticide. And I'll be happy to help you guys. We actually have a video on how to make JWA. So, you know, we this is what this natural farming is about, guys. It's about helping each other out. It's about being open source. It's about being helping the planet and everybody working as one, to reverse the damage that we've done to this planet as humans, and to continue to be able to provide good, clean food for us, guys. So In the sense that organics attempts to do that. They say that natural farming or KNF can't be done on a large scale. It's too difficult. Well, now with the introduction of Jadam, guys, with the use of these pesticides, it can be done on a large scale. It can be done commercially. It's 100% possible. There's soil nutrition, there's plant nutrition, there's fertilizers, there's herbicides. You have to do that yourself. It's a little bit more work, and that's the problem, guys. That's what everybody's scared of, is having to go out there and do the physical work. But unfortunately, in this day and age, guys, there's not really other way we can see us succeeding and being able to produce our own food. Even in organic farming, there's a little bit of work in the creation of compost and other inputs that go into your garden. And that's what we're saying, is that organic's not bad. Organic's great. If you're making the switch from a chemical, salt-based growing or farming style to organic, that's fantastic, guys. You guys are taking a gigantic leap towards doing the right thing. And taking the step from organics into natural farming or natural growing is a whole nother step, guys. And it can seem kind of frightening, it can seem kind of weird. Well, I have to make all my own stuff, it's a lot of hard work, but there's a lot of resources, guys, and a lot of people who are willing to help. And that's one of the reasons why we created Jack Green's Garden Products, is to be able to help you guys out, to be able to access these KNF and Jadam style inputs and resources. So yeah, guys, basically the main thing that separates natural farming from organics is natural farming is all about local, guys. It's all about natural local resources and no use of chemicals at all, any kinds of insecticides or anything like that, even if they're organic based, guys. The use of pyrethriums is terrible. They spray it on the leaves and the residual stays on the leaf for days and for weeks. So a bee comes, guys, and the bee comes and it's just chilling on this leaf right here, taking a break, and guess what? It got poisoned because of that pyrethrum contact. And we wonder why bees are becoming extinct. A lot of other organic pesticides and compounds are toxic for fish, for sea life in general, as far as like sea snails, clams, things like that. It's terrible for our planet, guys. Even organic gardening can be bad for us. So we have to remember, guys, if we're gardening or we're growing, and once we get in touch with what we're really doing, whether it's for cannabis or for food, it's trying to grow the most wholesome, best available product for yourself, guys. That medicine or that food that becomes your medicine at the most maximum amount of healthiness, minimal impact to the planet, minimal impact to your neighbors, guys. So if you guys want to know more about natural farming, we'll put more links below in this video. We really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too boring for you guys. I hope it's something that you guys can really learn from, and I hope you guys learned a little bit more about natural farming, and you guys are ready to go and do some research and ready to go start planting some seeds and figuring out who Masanobu Fukuoka is and who Hyunkyu Cho is, and let's go, guys. And here's another one for you for natural farming, and let's go, let's do this. Yeah, guys, natural farming time. Woo! Thanks. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We hope you enjoyed. Hey guys, Jack Green's here. I'm here to talk to you guys today about a little bit of